The Archer mansion gleamed in shades of gold and ivory. Streamers fluttered at the iron gates, balloons floated in neat clusters, and a string quartet played softly near the courtyard's edge. This wasn't just a child's birthday party, it was a show of status, wealth, and flawless planning. Inside the grand hall, waiters in crisp white gloves glided through the crowd, balancing trays of sparkling drinks and delicate appetizers. Guests laughed in designer gowns and tailored suits. Everything shone everything, except the little girl it was all meant for. 6-year-old Emily Archer sat quietly at the edge of a velvet chaise, clutching a worn-out stuffed bunny. Her blue party dress looked untouched, her expression flat, her gaze lost. No mountain of presents, no towering cake, not even the flash of 100 cameras could spark a smile. She sat and noticed, invisible in her own celebration. From across the room, Vanessa Quinn Ryan Archer's striking fiancé rested a manicured hand on his arm. Her voice was soft, but her words cut sharp. She needs to learn how to perform. Smiling is a skill, and she'll need it in our world. Ryan's eyes stayed on his daughter. She's not ready, he whispered. It's only been a year. Vanessa tilted her head, diamonds glinting in the chandelier light. Grief has its time, Ryan. This has gone on long enough. His jaw tightened. Let's just get through today. At the same moment, a breathless woman hurried up to the gates, dragging a battered suitcase covered in stickers. A faded rainbow wig sat crooked on her head, and her oversized boots thudded against the stone path. Collie Bloom the clown for the party was late. Her bike had broken down 3 blocks away, and she'd run the rest of the way. The guard blocked her. You lost? Still panting, she waved a crumpled paper. No, I'm the clown. Collie the clown. Booked for Emily's party. The guard eyed her suspiciously just as Vanessa appeared, her sharp gaze sweeping over Collie. This is the clown? She said coolly. I was expecting someone cleaner. And on time. I'm sorry. Collie said quickly, adjusting her collar. The trip didn't go as planned. But I promise I'm here to give Emily a birthday she'll remember. Just don't make things worse. Vanessa replied, crossing her arms. With a small nod, Collie walked in, ignoring the stares burning into her. She only had eyes for one person, Emily. The little girl looked up when Collie knelt beside her. From her bag, Collie pulled out a sock puppet and slipped it on. Hi, she said in a silly voice, waving the puppet's hand. I'm Benny. I heard someone here turned 6 today. Is that true? Or did I crash the wrong party? Emily blinked, hesitated, then gave the smallest nod. That would have been awkward. And so, the show began. Balloon animals, goofy voices, a ridiculous story about a chicken that forgot how to cluck. Emily's lips twitched, then a soft laugh escaped, then more, until the sound of her laughter filled the marble hall. Adults turned surprised. Ryan froze where he stood, staring at his daughter. He hadn't heard that laugh in what felt like forever. His heart skipped when he saw Collie not just as a clown, but as the first person to break through Emily's silence. When the show ended and the applause faded, Collie quietly packed her bag, ready to leave. But she remembered she'd left her puppets near the fountain. As she went back inside, a cold voice made her stop in her tracks. You don't tell him a word. Not one. Collie peeked around a column. Vanessa was standing over Emily, her voice low and sharp. If you say anything to your father, I'll throw away every toy you own. And I'll smile while I do it. Emily whimpered. Collie stepped forward. That's enough. Vanessa spun around, her face instantly shifting into charm. Excuse me? I heard you. Collie said, her voice trembling but steady. Threatening a child, that's abuse. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. You're just a clown. Do you really think anyone here will believe you over me? Collie's gaze swept toward the crowd. She raised her voice. Everyone should know Vanessa Quinn mistreats Emily when no one's watching. The music stopped. Conversations froze. Ryan strode over, his expression hard. What's going on? Collie didn't back down. I heard her threaten your daughter. She's lying. Vanessa snapped. She's jealous. She wants to ruin us. Ryan's glare fell on Collie. You were hired to entertain. Instead, you show up late, looking like this, and now you're making accusations about my family? You think you know what's best for my child? I know fear when I see it. Collie said softly. And Emily is afraid of her. Ryan's voice dropped cold. You're a clown. Nothing more. Get out. Security moved in. Collie didn't resist. She turned to Emily, forcing a smile through the sting of tears. You're braver than you think. Emily took a step forward, whispering. Don't go. But her voice was too small. The heavy oak doors shut, and Collie was gone. Outside, she stood on the stone steps, her suitcase handle trembling in her grip. Her painted face streaked as silent tears cut through the colors. Each step toward the gate felt heavier than the last. Inside, the party picked back up, Vanessa's charm smoothing everything over. But Ryan's eyes kept drifting to where Collie had stood, her words echoing in his mind. Upstairs, Emily pressed her little hand to the window, searching the driveway until she found her. Collie stopped at the gate, turned back, and spotted the shadow at the window. Emily raised her palm against the glass. Collie's hand lifted in return, a small, trembling wave. No one else noticed. Back in her tiny apartment, Collie set her bag down. Her younger brother glanced up from his homework. How was the party? She sat at the table, wiping her smeared makeup with a towel. I made a little girl laugh. She said softly. And I made a lot of adults very uncomfortable. He smirked. Sounds like you. Collie's smile faded. I got kicked out for telling the truth. Do you regret it? He asked. Her mind flashed back to Emily's eyes, the way her hand pressed to the window. Collie shook her head. No. I'd do it again, because sometimes you had to choose to stay silent, or to stand up. And even if no one believed her, even if she never got hired again, Collie had chosen to protect a child. That mattered, even if the only person who remembered was 6 years old. That night, in his vast bedroom, Ryan Archer couldn't sleep. Collie's words echoed again. I know what fear looks like. And Emily's afraid of her. He had dismissed her, humiliated her. But her voice wouldn't leave him. When he checked on Emily, she was curled in bed with her stuffed bunny. She didn't even blink when he entered. When he bent to kiss her forehead, she flinched just slightly, but enough. And in the silence of the night, that small flinch repeated in his mind like a drum beat. The next morning at breakfast, Vanessa scrolled through her phone while Emily pushed eggs around her plate. Eat your food before it gets cold, Vanessa said sharply. Emily nodded without looking up. Ryan quietly reached for the juice and poured it into Emily's glass. She glanced up at him, startled. He smiled. She didn't. That day, Ryan canceled his meetings. He stayed home. He needed to see more. And the more he watched, the more he began to notice. Vanessa's temper had started to show. She scolded the staff for the smallest mistakes and dismissed Emily's questions like they were interruptions. One evening, Ryan saw her snatch the remote from Emily's hands. No cartoons. She snapped. You're too old for that nonsense. Emily hadn't argued. She simply set the rabbit in her lap and walked quietly out of the room. That was the moment Ryan picked up the phone. I need someone discreet. He told his assistant, Greg. Keep an eye on things when I'm not here, especially around Emily. Greg didn't pry. He only said, consider it done. Ryan hated himself for even needing to make that call. To investigate his own fiancé. It felt like a betrayal, but deep down he knew the bigger betrayal was ignoring the signs. He had wanted to believe in Vanessa's polish, in the image of stability she gave him, but the cracks were too wide now to ignore. Later that night, he passed Emily's door. It was slightly open. Inside, she sat cross-legged on the floor in her pajamas, crayon in hand, sketching quietly. On the page was a drawing of a little girl and a woman in a clown's costume holding hands, both smiling wide. There was no elegant woman in a perfect gown, no tall figure in a sharp suit. Just Emily. Just the clown. Ryan's chest tightened. He eased the door shut and leaned against the hallway wall, the truth pressing down on him. Collie might have been forced out of the house, but she had never left Emily's world. The weekend brought a rare quiet afternoon in the community park. The sun filtered through the trees, children's laughter bounced across the grass, and the smell of popcorn drifted. For the first time in months, Ryan had brought Emily out alone. No security. No schedule. No Vanessa. Just father and daughter, a picnic blanket, and a sketch pad tucked in Ryan's jacket pocket, in case Emily wanted to draw. She sat silently beside him, rabbit in hand, eyes following the swings but saying nothing. Ryan was about to suggest they head home when a voice rose over the noise of the playground. Who wants a balloon shaped like a dinosaur unless it turns out like spaghetti instead? Emily's head whipped around. Across the park stood Collie Bloom. No rainbow wig this time. Just suspenders over a striped shirt, a painted heart on her cheek, and that frizzy ponytail bouncing as she worked balloons into wild shapes for the kids around her. Before Ryan could even process, Emily bolted. She sprinted across the grass and wrapped her arms around Collie's waist. Collie staggered back in surprise. Then she looked down, eyes wide. Emily, she whispered. I missed you. Emily said. Ryan rose slowly from the bench, watching them. Part of him expected Collie to step away, to keep her distance. But instead, she knelt, pulled the toy headband from her hair, and looked at Emily eye to eye. I missed you too, sunshine. She said with a smile that was completely real. Only then did she straighten and meet Ryan's gaze. The warmth in her face was gone, replaced by quiet steel. She wiped the painted heart off her cheek with her sleeve. She didn't ask for work, didn't remind him he'd thrown her out. She gave Emily's hand a soft squeeze, then turned to walk away. Collie. Ryan called after her. She paused. If you'd like to spend more time with Emily, he said, his voice softer now. Not as entertainment, but as someone she can count on. I'd be grateful. Emily's hopeful eyes were the only reason Collie gave the smallest nod. When Collie returned to the Archer estate, every step toward the door was heavy. The last time she'd stood there, she had been humiliated, treated like an intruder. She had rehearsed the words she'd use if they turned her away again. But this time, Ryan himself opened the door. No suit. No mask. Just a sweater, jeans, and a voice that sounded human. Thank you for coming, he said quietly. I'm here for Emily, Collie replied. And she meant it. The arrangement was simple. A few afternoons each week, help with snacks, homework, and bedtime. No promises beyond that. But the change in the house was instant. Emily, once so withdrawn, began to bloom. She laughed while brushing her teeth, sang while setting the table, and darted to the door the moment Collie arrived. Their afternoons filled with castles made of cardboard boxes, art projects that left glitter everywhere, and bedtime stories told in silly voices. A call he could take from the car. Anything to share dinner and catch the moments when Collie tied Emily's shoes or poured her cereal with care. They started talking. At first about Emily. Then about childhood memories, favorite cartoons, even the worst jobs they'd ever had. Eventually, the deeper truth surfaced. Collie spoke about her brother, about hardship and resilience. Ryan confessed the silence that had haunted him since his wife's death. She never judged. She only listened, and that was when Ryan realized she didn't just understand Emily. She understood him. One night, he found her in the kitchen under a small lamp, sewing a patch onto Emily's sweater. "You didn't have to," he said quietly. "I know," she answered with a soft smile. "That's why I wanted to." They sat together in the hush, the sound of thread slipping through fabric filling the silence. Collie teased him for laughing differently at night, less restrained, more real. Then Emily patted in, hair messy, clutching a folded paper. She crawled into Collie's lap and handed it over. It was a crayon drawing, 3 figures hand in hand, Emily, Ryan, and Collie. Above them, one big red heart. Ryan's throat tightened. Collie explained softly. "She asked me what love looks like. I told her, it looks like people who stay." Ryan folded the picture carefully. "It's beautiful," he said. And he wasn't just talking about the drawing. But peace never sat easily in the Archer estate. Vanessa had grown colder, sharper, her smile thin, her eyes narrowing whenever Collie was near. One evening, Ryan came home early and heard shouting from the living room. "You think you can replace me?" Vanessa's voice cut like glass. "You're nothing but a charity case in cheap sweaters." Collie's reply was quiet but steady. "I don't want to replace anyone. I just want Emily safe." Then came Emily's scream. Ryan stormed in to find Vanessa's hand tangled in Emily's hair while Collie tried to shield her. "Let her go," Ryan ordered, his voice like steel. Vanessa froze. Ryan's words were measured, calm, final. "You ask if she can replace you? She doesn't have to. Because she's not pretending. You are." Vanessa's mask cracked. Ryan revealed what he already knew: the missing funds, the forged invoices, the secret accounts. And as the police arrived, Vanessa's fury turned into defeat. She left in handcuffs. Ryan didn't watch. He was already kneeling with Emily in his arms as Collie held her close. Emily's voice trembled. "I'm not scared anymore." Collie's eyes filled with tears. This time, she didn't walk away. The night that followed was quiet. No guests. No champagne. No chandeliers. Just a small table with 3 plates, homemade food, and the warmth of something that finally felt like family. Emily giggled over dinner. Collie laughed with her. And Ryan realized he didn't want this moment to end. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small velvet box. "The first time I saw you," he said softly, "you wore a rainbow wig and face paint. You looked like chaos wrapped in glitter. But you were also the only one who truly saw Emily. You didn't demand smiles or perfection. You just let her be." He opened the box to reveal a simple silver ring. "I don't want perfect. I want real. I want the woman who stayed, who spoke up when no one else would. Collie, you're the one my heart chose." Tears spilled down Collie's cheeks before she could speak. And then Emily reached across the table, tugging Ryan's sleeve. "I choose her too," she whispered. "Forever." Collie laughed through her tears. "Well, I guess I'm outnumbered." Ryan took her hand, and in that small dining room, under the glow of one candle, they became something stronger than circumstance. A family. Because sometimes, home isn't where you're born, it's where love finally chooses to stay. And Collie? She wasn't just a clown. She was the light that turned a house of silence into a home of laughter.